If we're doing stuff that's too easy with a training client, we would change it immediately. So why don't we do it in rehab? Just by virtue of doing hard stuff, the mental health benefits and the psychological benefits, I think it's easy for us to talk ourselves out of hard stuff.
Yeah.
And when our body actually has a bit more in the tank than we realize, but our brains are telling us to stop.
You need that psychological flexibility.
This is one of the biggest important things that we get with strength training. Like just making yourself do something that you didn't really want to do that day. That's powerful. Just making yourself do something that you didn't think you could do that day. Or we all know that feeling when you go into a training session and you're like, yeah, I'm just going to kind of get through this and see what happens. And then all of a sudden, your motivation like flips and you're all of a sudden having a session that is actually better than you ever anticipated it would be just because you started doing the thing, trying to change physiology. That's exactly what the hallmark of strength and conditioning is. If we're talking about changing physiology, we're trying to do it the most with somebody who's injured. So how could we ever not impart the same exact principles? It doesn't make any sense to me. Am I changing this person's physiology? If the answer is no, it's not appropriate for rehab, it's not appropriate for training. If we're doing stuff that's too easy with a training client, we would change it immediately. So why don't we do it in rehab? We just keep people in this safe space and then we never actually elevate them to getting back to what they want to do. Or shocker, things that I know you guys do all of the time at Reload, get people beyond where they came in. Get them like farther along that spectrum of training and rehab than they ever even thought they could be. So we're leaving so much on the table. Like neurological side of stuff too. I mean, I think if we think really similarly about when exercise selection, when we're really talking about like what moves the needle the most and what matters the most. And my bias is strength training. Like I love just heavy stuff. But I think it's so important to also consider like neurologically what else we need to expose our bodies to from a quickness and coordination standpoint, from a rhythm and timing standpoint, from a speed and power standpoint. I think it's easy sometimes to get stuck in the bias of strength training and not get those other aspects too. And especially with just like big picture, long-term success as a mover, that neurological argument too for making people do stuff fast, making people do stuff that really increases neural drive beyond what just like slow and steady strength training can do. What really increases like motor unit recruitment, the stuff that is more on like the power end of the spectrum. The Barbell Medicine Group just put out a really awesome podcast talking about the neurological underpinnings of sarcopenia, but we're also seeing now neurological impairments from like the neurological level of muscular contraction. So neurotransmitter difficulties, like doing their jobs to be able to actually tell the muscles to contract, changes in neural drive and motor unit recruitment, the stuff that again is really going to only be impacted by that power end of the spectrum or be better impacted by that type of work. And I think that's really important too, finding that entry point to be able to start to initiate that stuff that maybe clients don't feel quite ready for. If we just kind of like reverse engineer what's happening with jumps and with more power exercises, we can more simply kind of adjust and give clients who maybe aren't as ready for like a depth drop into a broad jump or something that's a bit more aggressive, maybe I just make them go faster on the reps that we're already doing.
Right.
Or if I know that in plyometrics, like what I really want is kind of like a isometric muscular contraction where then the tendons can do their work. How can I do that in training too? I can train isos. I can do more tendon specific things that maybe they're not as far on the spectrum of jumping just yet, but there's an appropriate entry point for everybody.
Yeah. I think that's way more healthy on the client side too, because it's not like once you get this, then you can do this.
And that's something I've changed my mind on a lot about. Like I think earlier on in my career, with my bias being a little bit more toward like just heavy strength training and slow and controlled movements, I kept the buckets very separate of like, well, let's master this first and then we'll get into jumping and then we'll get into like getting you back to running. And over the years, I've changed my mind a lot on that and just like intermixed those qualities concurrently, like immediately. Like my goal is, I think all of our goals should be what is that like lowest hanging fruit for each of the buckets that we want to fill, and what's that tolerable entry point, and we should have some representation like all of the time in somebody's training. But that's, you know, I changed my mind a lot on that. Like first coming out of school, we're taught to think a little bit more rigidly and like, oh, you can only go from phase 2 to phase 3 once this list of things has happened.
Right.
And that's just not how bodies really work.
Right.
So it's different now.
Yeah. It's also so much more engaging for whoever you're with.
Well, and if we have somebody who they're with us, but they don't necessarily love strength training in the way that we do. And I'm saying, well, we can't do the thing that you came in that you loved. Like you're a runner and great, but you can't do that for the next 12 weeks because we have to focus on strength training first and only that. I'm then completely discounting what this person actually cares about. Like not everybody enjoys getting in the gym the same way that maybe we do because we chose this for our jobs.
Right.
Like we have to remember that. We're the weirdos who elected to work out for a profession.
Right.
And most people don't feel that way about exercise. So we have to be mindful of that when we're working with people too.
Changed your mind on anything?
So much. Because every year is something new, right? Like we got into kettlebells. We were known as the kettlebell physical therapist when we first started. Then we got into barbells. Then we got into sprint training. So every year people were getting better, but we were using a different tool. So it's kind of like what a lot of people are saying. It's like use a tool to get the adaptation you want, give people a good experience, be excited about teaching them something, but also meet them where they are. If they don't want to use a barbell, you can use a kettlebell. If they don't like to use a kettlebell or they're intimidated, you can jump, you can sprint, you can run, you can throw. So there's so many tools, and then we just have to figure out, like, give someone space to feel what's comfortable and safe for them, and then kind of push them that way.
Here's also something I want to bring up. Just there are many cultural differences in America when it comes to strength training.
Yeah.
But there is such this push of there's a perfect way for a woman to look.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
And I think it's okay with wanting to look a certain way. Like, I think that's fine too. And it's also okay. Like, I have had clients say, I want to get strong, but I don't want my arms to look like yours. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And at first, maybe when I was younger, I'd be like, what? Like, that's wild. But also at the same time, like, yeah, I'm like, I worked so hard for this. And I always joke, but like, I love being confusingly jacked. Like, that's my goal. And not everybody wants that. And like, so, but I think we do have to respect that people maybe have different goals for their bodies, which is just fine. I think what matters the most is the conversations around like what is important for health and for the things that they want to be able to do. And I'm a big believer of minimum effective dose. If I can find the minimum effective dose to get you to what you need for your health, cool. Like, that's fine. But yeah, I think the conversation of how women should be training and what is the ideal body type for women, that's always, unfortunately, going to be like a huge topic constantly, no matter what. We can't really escape it. I think Instagram and fitness being popular on Instagram is an overall net positive, because I think if I'm just comparing to even 10 years ago, 5 years ago, the conversations people are having about training are wildly different than they ever were.
Yeah.
Especially compared to when I was growing up. Like that's just, it's a completely different world. So I think it's an overall net positive. Like, women are being exposed more to seeing lifting. Everybody's being exposed more to seeing exercise. So I think that is a good thing. But I think where it goes awry is when, again, it's very easy, like what people are saying and how backed in reality and evidence it is. And I think the easy thing is to think of like, man, if this person is saying something that's like very absolutist, it's probably not the whole truth, and that could be kind of an easy way to navigate the situation, but it's challenging for sure. The coolest thing I will say though, within the last few years, is I actually have had more women come to Old Bull specifically with goals of increasing their muscle mass and their bone density, and I have never heard that before. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Like, yes, it can be rough out there, and I think helping people understand that different types of exercise give you different types of adaptations,
right?
And not one being better than the other, or one being the only good thing, the other all the other stuff being bad. Like, I disagree with that, but I do think we have to be honest about what types of exercise are giving us what adaptations and why a distribution of adaptations is important. And that's the challenge. And that's the thing that I think it's really trendy for me to get on here and say, like, Pilates doesn't build bone density or muscle mass, and it sucks. And that be the clip.
Right.
Don't clip that. But instead of having a thoughtful conversation and saying, wow, for a lot of people who are new to exercise, Pilates is a big jump in their activity. So they do see changes in body composition and in things that maybe they couldn't do before in their day-to-day lives. But then they will reach a ceiling. because it is not a great enough stimulus to create long-term change or adaptation beyond maybe the initial like newbie gains window. So then you have to elevate to something with a bigger challenge or a greater stimulus, or you have to, with guidance and support from a provider who maybe is like, cool, I love that you're doing Pilates, but we also have to make sure we're hitting these things too. Like, people are so quick to say this sucks versus this doesn't, instead of like, oh, you like doing this? Let me help you curate a schedule so you can hit and check all of the boxes and still do what you love. But it's a nuanced conversation, and that's not really like what gets clicks.
I'm just like a regular person off the street. Why should I care if you're a physical therapist or an occupational therapist or a trainer?
I think first and foremost, you shouldn't necessarily care too much the letters after somebody's name who you're working with. What you should care more is, do they make you feel safe? Do you really feel supported outside of your session too? Do you have somebody that you can tell has your back and who doesn't let their biases interrupt what their suggestions for you are? I think if you have somebody that you're working with in the fitness industry who checks those boxes, you're probably with like a pretty phenomenal person, and those letters start to matter less. And that's where the conversation too, like, it doesn't always mean one-on-one. It doesn't always mean non-insurance based. It can exist in those spaces, but I do think that we have to be honest. When time is on our side, we can help people more. When we have people coming in to work at a place like Reload who live and breathe helping the person in front of them, and who have this like genuine deep-seated curiosity about the human being that they're taking care of and working with, like, there's no better feeling in the world than that, and there's no better experience that you could have than that. So making sure that you feel that way wherever you are, like, that's how you know you're in the right spot or not. Movement is appropriate and deserved by every single person. So I think that question of, why does this matter for me? I'm just kind of like a regular person. You deserve movement. You deserve a body that you feel safe in, that you feel gives back to you what you give to it. Like, you really deserve that. Trusting your body and feeling capable to do something is the coolest feeling that I've ever had. And I'm so proud to have that feeling, especially as a woman. Like, I love that I can move from an apartment by myself if I need to. Like, I love that feeling. And whatever that feeling is for you, whatever that level looks like for you, I encourage every human to find it. It doesn't have to be a 1RM on their back squat. It could be, wow, I can walk up my stairs and not feel like I need to sit down after. That's so cool. So like, I encourage every person, even if you don't have this type of relationship with the gym just yet, to think of like, what is the level of just like feeling like the best human you can that really resonates with you, and chase that feeling.